Welcome to Around the Weird. Here's your host, the museum curator of the strange and unusual, Mr. Nothing.
Thank you, mysterious voice, and welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today it is Poetry Thursday, so I wanted to talk about some interesting poetry that I found. And today's poem is all about love. I am referring to Explosion by Delmira Augustini. For those who don't know, Delmira Augustini is a Uruguayan poet who lived between the late 1800s and the early 1900s. She wrote a number of volumes of, or a number of books of poetry, and also worked for poetry, like catalogs, poetry journals, before she died at like 27, because her husband killed her, her ex-husband, because she got divorced, and as unfortunately happens to women, the husband came back and tried to, or killed her, because he was angry or something like that. Really unfortunate, but she seems to be a celebrated author, celebrated writer in Uruguay, and I think this is the first Uruguayan poet, Uruguayan writer that I've talked about, which is also cool. But without further ado, let's talk about this poem. I will read it, do a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. Explosion. If life were love, how blessed it would be. I want more life so to love. Now I feel 1,000 years of ideas are not worth one blue minute of sentiment. My heart was dying slowly, sadly. Now it opens like a Phoebean flower. Life rushes forth like a turbulent sea, whipped by the hand of love. My sorrow flies into the night, sad, cold, with its broken wings, like an old scar that continues to ache. In the distant shade it dissolves, all my life sings, kisses, laughs, all my life is a flowering mouth. In terms of analysis, that was Explosion. So in terms of narrative, the poem is just talking about someone who has found love, and once they feel the greatness of love, sorrow seems to leave their life. I should note first and foremost that this, because Delmira was a Uruguayan poet, her poems are in Spanish, so this is an English translation, and I've seen a couple of them out there actually, so it's possible that, you know, what I just read maybe wasn't the definitive translation, and of course you need to understand it in the original Spanish in order to get the most value, the most understanding out of this poem. So my analysis here might not be completely correct without talking directly about the Spanish, but that's where we're at. It's interesting how the poet talks about love in this poem. It's like 1,000 years of concepts of love are nothing compared to love. They say 1,000 years of ideas are not worth one blue minute of sentiment. They say like they were feeling sad before. They specifically say, my heart was dying slowly, sadly. My sorrow flies into the night, sad, cold. So they were feeling pretty unhappy, but love has come into their life and it's made them feel enormous. It's made them feel great. They say, now it opens like a Phoebean flower. Life rushes forth like a turbulent sea, whipped by the hand of love. So love is facilitating all of this. I like how they say Phoebean flower. I had to look that up, and Phoebean refers to Apollo, because Phoebus or something like that was Apollo's first name. Something that you don't really consider is that the gods had, at least the Greek gods had first names, and like there were others as well who had like first names, which I think is silly, giving your gods like first names like they're actual people, but that's apparently what the Greeks thought to do. So comparing your love, comparing the act of being in love to something godly, the beauty of Apollo and all of that, and then then the narrator says that sorrow has left their life, and it sounds like a really beautiful, freeing kind of thing. It's like an old scar that continues to ache. In the distant shade it dissolves. All my life sings, kisses, laugh. In my life is a flowering mouth. It really sounds beautiful. It's so essentially what the poet is saying is that love is freeing, and the sorrow that's sort of bound you and made you feel not that great, once you find love, it's going to just release that, and you're going to feel only that love, only the joy that life can possibly bring you. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Explosion by Delmira Augustini, a pretty solid poem. It's pretty straightforward in what it's about, love. It's important that we talk about those pretty straightforward poems in addition to the very complex and sometimes confusing poems that I've cataloged on this channel before. So yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I would love to hear from you and have a discussion about this. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can find out about this poet or this poem if they don't already know. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and love-filled travels. Farewell.